With your presence, we can also celebrate 60 years of relationship between Sri Lanka and Nepal. We know this is your second visit to Sri Lanka and you are recorded as the 6th Director General of IPROM to visit Sri Lanka. Thank you for taking time to visit us and a warm welcome to you. Dear Mr. Haris Chandra, we are well aware that this is your first week in office as the Secretary of the Ministry of Culture and the Buddhist Affairs. We take this opportunity to congratulate you and to express our deep appreciation for accepting our invitation with very short notice to be the chief guest for this occasion. A warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you for gracing this inaugural session of this symposium. As the ministry in charge of the implementation of the World Heritage Convention and taking care of the already listed 6 World Cultural Heritage Sites, we consider that the dedication of this symposium will have a great relevance to you about your work. ICOMO Sri Lanka would be happy to report the outcomes of the symposium. A warm welcome to a great number of professionals and academics from the Asia Pacific region, including our own Dr. Iswaran Raja, for accepting our invitation to attend the symposium. I have no doubt that you will enjoy Sri Lanka's hospitality and will appreciate our heritage during your stay in Sri Lanka. Last but not least, let me also welcome all the Sri Lankan colleagues who are members of the ICOMO Sri Lanka and other distinguished guests present at the opening of this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those kind words of welcome. Professor Zhou Jiang is the Secretary General of WITRAP and Director of WITRAP China. Professor Zhou Jiang, we invite you for the opening speech.
Dear Professor Kamini, Eddie Kari, the ICOMOS Sri Lanka, dear Dr. Weber Ndolo, Director General of ICOMO, dear Mr. Bandura, Haris Chandra, Secretary, Minister of Culture and Buddhist Affairs, dear experts, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for attending the International Symposium for World Heritage Properties, Programs, and People in Asia and Pacific region. Firstly, I would like to express my greatest gratitude to all of you, especially for our partners in ICOMO. Thanks for being the host of this event and provide a chance for us to meet in Sri Lanka with our old and new friends and enjoy exchange of knowledge and ideas here. WITRAP, the full name is the World Heritage Institute of Training and Research for Asia and Pacific region. This is for Category 2 Center. Our mission is to strengthen the implementation of the World Heritage Convention in Asia and the Pacific region by research, training, and network building. We have 3 branch centers in China: WITRAP Shanghai, WITRAP Beijing, and WITRAP Suzhou. Maybe some you know this and visited the 3 or 1 or 2 or even the 3 of the center. WITRAP Shanghai is the local in the Zhongji University in Shanghai. Focus on the conservation of cultural heritage, such as the sustainable development, of the historic town and villages, architectural sites, and cultural landscape. The Beijing Center at the Peking University is in charge of natural heritage conservation. The Suzhou Center, hosted by the local government, is in charge of the traditional architecture, craftsmanship, and the traditional building restoration. In line with the UNESCO WTC's World Heritage in Action, which of Shanghai set 6 priority activities, which is the regional capacity building strategy, historical urban landscape, heritage impact assessment. This was a way cooperation with the Synchrone. And the World Heritage and Sustainable Tourism Management Plan in historic city and historical small settlements development. Based on this theme, WeTrap Shanghai has carried out a series of research, training, and program activities in past 11 years. Those these past projects, we have gained some central experience and cooperation partners. As an institute for Asia Pacific regions by UNESCO, we are going to enhance and promote cooperation, especially among the heritage practitioners. Therefore, we establish a network called Heritage Asia Pacific. Heritage. This networking for the heritage practitioners to share our practical management experience and more, even more. Last year, Heritage launched a first meeting in Tongli, historic town in China, to develop a framework for building this network. This year, now, with the support from the friend Gamini, which is Korea, and ICMOS SREC, we invited 28 participants from the 12 countries and more than 40 officials from SREC. Taking this opportunity, this international symposium also is a part of the second annual meeting of the heritage in the second day, morning. We will talk about the World Heritage properties and the properties. And we will discussion about the purposes of heritage activities in detail tomorrow. This would contribute to the smooth dialogue among the different countries and with this region. We also warmly welcome all experts to show your thoughts, ideas, experience related to the WeTrap middle-term strategy tomorrow morning. It is the middle-term strategy in the next 5 years. So we can help, you can help us to better serve to the state parties in this region. Last but not least, I would thank all of the staffs, especially for Gamini, Wages Surya, and thanks for the ICMOS Sri Lanka, their great support for this symposium. I wish all of the partners have a wonderful days in Sri Lanka. I wish the symposium completely succeeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zhang, for sharing with us the origins of Heritage and its role it intends to play. Mr. Bandula Haris Chandra is the newly appointed Secretary to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Cultural and Religious Affairs. He is also the chief guest this evening, and as such, Mr. Bandula, the podium is yours.
Hi, Bowen. Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Kalai vanakkam. Dr. Evan Andrew, Director General of ICROM, Professor Shah, Director of ITRAP Shanghai, and Professor Imali Silva, and Professor Mandaval and other professors who are coming here. Very good morning. On behalf of the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Cultural and Religious Affairs, it is my privilege and honor to be the chief guest at the International Symposium on World Heritage, Properties, Programs and People in the Asia-Pacific region. It is indeed very much relevant to our country. As a small nation, we are proud to have 8 properties inscribed in the World Heritage List, of which 6 of them are under the care of my ministry. I was also informed that several distinguished Sri Lankan professionals have served in the World Heritage System through its adversary bodies, namely ICOMS and ICROM and the UNESCO World Heritage Center. I was also informed that they are responsible for promoting and developing and promoting many programs to support the World Heritage System. Among them is Dr. Roland Silva, under whose presidency of ICOMS recommended 222 properties and successfully inscribed. We are grateful to World Heritage Institute for Research and Training for Asia Pacific, WITRAP, Shanghai for its decision to hold this important meeting in Sri Lanka. WITRAP is located in one of the regions with rich and diverse heritage. Since its beginning in 2007, WITRAP has rendered a great service to this region and has already trained a large number of young professionals, in which Sri Lanka has also been a beneficiary. I also understand that the meeting will be used as the opportunity to inaugurate the Heritage Asia Pacific Network known as HERITAP, sponsored by WITRAP, to foster the sharing of knowledge and experience among individuals and institutions engaged in the heritage activities in the Asia Pacific region. We are grateful to WITRAP for selecting for Sri Lanka as the venue to host this important event, particularly at a time when international activities had been severely limited since the unfortunate Easter's under attack. Thank you, Professor Shao Jan, for organizing this event in Sri Lanka. This event is also based by Dr. Vivian Edro, the Director General of ICROM, the advisory body to the World Heritage Committee acting as the property training partner, Sri Lanka, of a gratitude to ICROM, and special thanks to you for your presence in Sri Lanka. I am happy to report that in November, we successfully completed the regional training course on people-centered approaches to conservation of nature and culture. With the participants of 23 professionals and 13 international resources persons under the patronage of my ministry and its institution. Thank you, Dr. Andrew, for organizing this event in Sri Lanka. In addition, I need to take this opportunity to remind you the long 60 years history of collaboration between Sri Lanka and ICROM. I understand that that Sri Lanka was among the first 7 countries to ratify the instrument of creating ICROM in 1958. Since then, the 2 organizations under my ministry, namely the Department of Archaeological and Central Cultural Fund, have benefited enormously for ICROM by receiving training for more than 100 heritage conservators. Among them are eminent persons of the field conservation such as Dr. Roland Silla, who is present. I think he has not come, no? With this important occasion, I think, I understand there are nearly 30 guests from 12 countries from the Asia Pacific region and similar number from Sri Lanka at this symposium. Among them are some of the most senior and well-known professionals and academics like Dr. Soran Silla, Professor Bill Logan, Professor Nabucco Inoba, Professor Shaujan, Professor Nimal Silla, Mr. Astrid Boss, Dr. Gamini Vijayasuriya, Dr. Iswaran Nadraja, and Professor Nimalda Silva, Professor Mandavala, and many younger professionals from the region. I warm welcome to all of you and I wish you deliberations will further promote more properties to be inscribed in the World Heritage List, strengthen the regional and country-specific program to help support the protection of the outstanding universal value of the properties inscribed in the World Heritage. World Heritage List in the Asia Pacific region. I trust the ultimate goal will be to build up a new generation of professionals who will take care of the very rich heritage of the Asia Pacific region and to promote the role of heritage in sustainable development of the respective countries. With that, our hope is to see that Asia Pacific region currently sitting on the second place to hit the top of the list with the largest number of World Heritage properties. I will also wish all the best to the Heritage Network and believe this will act as a platform to link heritage practitioners of the region. Once again, thank you, ITAP, for placing trust on us and to organize the symposium and the creation of the network, and to all other participants. Actually, I hereby declare the symposium open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harish Chandra, for those kind words of encouragement. Dr. Weber Ndoro is the Director General of ICROM and is here to present the keynote address. Dr. Ndoro, the stage is yours.
The Secretary of the Ministry of Culture for opening this important meeting. I would also want to address the President of ICOMOS of Sri Lanka, the Secretary General of WINTRAP, also to my fellow participants of this workshop, to distinguished scholars, comrades, and friends. I think for me, it has always been a privilege to be in Sri Lanka for many reasons. My first attempt to come to Sri Lanka was in 1994. I was supposed to be part of a delegation coming from Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, I couldn't make that trip because my then director fired me 5 days before the trip. So that became an ambition to come to Sri Lanka. I subsequently came, and this is my third visit to Sri Lanka. So it's becoming home for me. But as already pointed out, as for ICROM, Sri Lanka is an important component of this organization. It has been there from the beginning. And I had the privilege, as Director General a few weeks ago, to welcome the delegation from Sri Lanka to the General Assembly of ICROM. And again, emphasizing my own personal experience, Sri Lanka has always been an inspiration in terms of heritage practice from where I come from. You've already mentioned a very big name in the conservation world or in the heritage world, and that's Roland Silver. Everybody in the world knows Roland Silver. Some of us were inspired and are still inspired by his work. And I am looking forward to seeing him perhaps in the next few days, if it's possible. Before I go into my presentation, I also want to thank WINTRAP for inviting me to this important seminar. I know that we have been working together with ICROM for a number of years, and we look forward to working with you in the next few years as well, and I think we'll be signing an agreement together. So that would be an important element. Let me now go to my presentation. I'm sorry to say that they say power corrupts, and PowerPoint corrupts absolutely. And I'm going to make a PowerPoint presentation trying to go through the issues related to ICROM and also emphasizing particularly this region, the Asia region. Bill, I'm not so sure whether Australia is part of the Asia region. Maybe part of it. Sorry. As you know, we now have 137 members as ICROM. Our last member was Costa Rica, who joined this year, and that makes 137 members of this organization. We also have 38 countries in Asia. We still have more work to do in Asia because we have a number of countries which need to join, particularly in the Southeast Asia region. And together with Winthrop, I'm sure we can spread the word and have more members joining this family of ICROM. We also have members of ICROM from this region who are in the Council: Japan, South Korea, China. They take up an important part in the decision-making process of ICROM. In terms of our mission statement, I'm sure most of us know that our main thrust is to provide capacity building to our member states, trying to make sure that they have the best skills, the best tools and knowledge so that they can begin to protect their heritage in whatever forms they exist. We work in both movable and immovable heritage, tangible and intangible heritage. So our mission really is quite big, but as I will indicate, we also have to work together with others in order to make sure that this is achieved. We again work in 5 main areas: training or capacity building, but in actual fact I always consider all these 5 areas as capacity building: training, information dissemination, advocacy, cooperation, and research. I think from my time, which is I'm now in my 2nd year, one of the major issues which I have said I would want to do is to engage member states much more. And I think with Sri Lanka, we have been trying to do that, exactly that. And we wish that most of the member states in ICROM should be playing an active part in the activities of ICROM. It is not ICROM who have to make the activities, it is the member states who have to make the activities. That way, then ICROM responds to the needs of its member states. Otherwise, if it is just the professionals at ICROM, it means then the member states' needs may not be answered. As we do so, we would want to make sure that we ensure accountability of what we are doing, because as you know, ICROM survives on member states' contribution. And if you take it further, those contributions come from the taxpayer in Sri Lanka. They come from the taxpayer in China and all the other member states. And therefore, it is important that we make sure that we account for that contribution from the taxpayer, and we make sure that we evaluate the impact of what we are doing so that the member states can see the need for us to be able to do so. So one of the things which we are trying to do in this biennium and also the next one is to make sure that we try and monitor and report back the impact of our activities as an organization. Obviously, given the fact that ICROM also works together with the UN organizations, we are also making sure that our programs are based on the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them. We're a small organization. We have to choose where we can make a difference, and we have several of them. Of course, goal 11.4 and 0.5 are the most important ones for us, but there are also others which we have to touch base on. And based on these UN development goals, ICROM itself has developed a number of what we refer to as SD strategic directions, 3 main strategic directions. First one is focusing on world concerns for cultural heritage, and I think this is where WINTRAP comes in with world heritage, and we would be fulfilling one of the strategic directions of ICROM by working with WINTRAP in this region. The second strategic direction is creating a diverse and inclusive global network. Again, this emphasizes the need for member states to play a part, because a network is composed of different member states and different member institutions. We also have to transform ICROM to become a more agile and more effective organization. Again, I want to emphasize the fact that for member states to continue contributing, they want to see results. They don't want just to be part of an organization which doesn't provide results. They want to see themselves in that organization. And one of the things which we have been doing in the last biennium, and we continue with that, is transforming ICROM as an organization. Reduce the number of staff, but at the same time become more effective. And we have tried to do that by a number of issues which we are already implementing, and I'll come back to that. Again, one of the issues which we have tried to emphasize as ICROM, and I know this has been an issue with ICROM for many years, is to make sure that people are part of what we do. Yes, member states join as governments and all that, but what is the impact on the common person? And what we have tried to do is to have this people-centered approach. And I can see that in the title of this symposium. It doesn't just say World Heritage Properties and Programs. It also says, and people. Because what we do is about people. It is not about the professional people, but the common person. So people-centered approaches are very important in the work we do. We have to make sure that whatever we do improves the lives of people, of communities. Yes, it's about architecture. Yes, it's about archaeology. Yes, it's about intangible heritage and all that. But at the end of the day, all that work must be geared towards the well-being of people and communities. And hence, the emphasis on people-centered approaches for ICROM. And again, I wouldn't want to claim to have been sort of part of this on my own. Something which we have been working together for many years, and I want to also attribute this emphasis on the people-centered approaches to my dear friend here, Tamini, who we were colleagues for many years, and we tried to push this very much, the issue of people-centered approaches to ICROM, and I think it has taken root. At the same time, like what I said, we have to look at ICROM working with 3 different components. The first one is practitioners, right? The professionals. And this is where we probably have a greater influence and impact by giving training courses, by disseminating research information, by making sure that there is, up-to-date, standard-setting, if you like, thrust on what we are doing. And then, of course, we work with institutions, and the institutions are key and critical to our work. We then have, as I said, in fact, if I were to do this diagram again, I would probably put communities at the top, because all we do is to try and benefit this, the communities. As I said, the issue is making sure that we have this approach which puts people at the center. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we go and tell communities what we want to see. It is the communities who have to tell us. It is the communities who have to make the final decisions on what we conserve and what we are going to promote. It is not the professional person who dictates what should be done. I know it's hard because I, being trained as an archaeologist, I, being trained as an architect, I always feel that I have the knowledge. They must listen to me. And this we have done many times. But what I'm saying is, perhaps we need to begin to think in a different way, to say, how do I use my knowledge to make sure that their interest is what prevails? And I think this is the approach which ICROM has taken, and we will continue to look at it that way, because we believe that at the end of the day, it is the taxpayer. It is not the professional who pays for what we do, and therefore their interest must be central. I've already mentioned the strategic directions of ICROM. I'm not going to go through them, but what has happened is that we had to refocus our programs to make sure that they are focused and they are actually directed to try and achieve the impact which will give us the results in terms of the the sustainable development goals, but at the same time, things which can contribute to the well-being of communities in places where we work. And that meant we had to focus our programs in a certain way. What we have done is to look at what we call flagship programs. These are three main programs where we have to focus. And the first one is the First Aid for Cultural Heritage. I'll come back to it as our main program. The second one is on the World Heritage Leadership Program. And then, because here the emphasis on World Heritage Leadership Program again is this issue about nature and culture. We have worked in silos for many years, and we really need to begin to talk to each other. The last flagship program for ICROM is the Middle East region, because of the issues which we are beginning to see there, the results of war and issues like that, and we have emphasized that. And to make it even better for ICROM, we have created an office in the Middle East to try and tackle those problems. And then we have what we are calling the prospective activities. These are areas where we need to begin to develop. When I arrived at ICROM, the major emphasis were certain regions. There were two regions which came out to be, I wouldn't say neglected, but which were not featuring in all our programs. And that is Africa and the Latin America region. And the prospective activities are trying to explore to see what we can do in those regions. I'm not going to dwell on that, but because I'm in the Asia region, and I think there have been a lot of activities in this area. Then there are what we refer to as partnership programs, and again, I'll come back to these in a few minutes. I've mentioned the issue of protecting cultural heritage in times of crisis. As you see, our world, unfortunately, we are seeing crisis after crisis everywhere in terms of conflict, in terms of other political issues. I've mentioned the Middle East. We need to be able to make sure that culture or cultural heritage is protected. Yes, the issue is about saving lives, but what happens when you have saved lives? They need culture to develop the resistance, the resilience. They need culture to sustain their lives, and that's the reason why we're emphasizing this particular issue in our programs. In this region, I must say that we have had a number of activities already. The one in Vietnam in July this year, which was looking at building disaster resilience in various areas, which was attended by a number of countries from the Asia region. I want also to emphasize the work we've been doing with Japan for many years on this topic. We have training courses which are aimed at trying to protect cultural heritage in times of crisis. There have been other programs. As you know, crisis comes when you don't expect it. We have had to respond to the earthquake in Naples, Myanmar, and other initiatives which we have taken in this region. Of course, we continue to provide advisory services when countries come to us and they request that we help them, particularly these days with climate change. Disasters are much more occurring than before, and we try and respond, and these are some of the areas where we have provided advice in the region, in the Asia region. We also try to develop this linkage with nature culture. One of the projects which I said is our flagship is the leadership program. And again, we have worked in this region in a number of areas to try and build capacities. And I think we have just had a course here a few weeks ago, which was aimed at that. And we also had another one, or at least we had courses with Tsukuba University, and I hope Nabucco, we will continue working on this in order to ensure that capacity is built. There are other courses which we have done in the region, and we'll continue to work like that. Then we also have publications, because again, the courses can be attended by a few people, but how do you make sure that the information and the impact is greater than just the people attending? Publications become an important element of that. We are also trying to make sure that we create training programs which are on the internet. E-learning is one of the issues which we are trying to emphasize, so that we have a greater impact in the member states as we develop. As I said, we have these strategic directions. We are trying to develop programs in them. Some of the programs are running, and so forth. But I also want to mention one area where the South, sort of the Asia region, has been very important for ICROM, and this is the training partnership. I want to mention Japan. They have been very instrumental in developing various courses with ICROM to make sure that the region benefits, but not just the region. All member states of ICROM benefit from these training courses. We have had also with South Korea and China, bringing together people in Asia and also opening up that space to other countries so that they can learn from these training courses. I don't want to go over the summary, but you can see some of the things which we have done with member states in the region over the years, particularly 2018 to 2019. If you look at it before, there are even more. I would say that the Asia region has been working with ICROM much more effectively than I would say other regions. I always say that I wish we could have the same intensity and the same cooperation with other member states. So it's a region to be proud of. It's a region where we want other countries to emulate, if I might say so. I'm talking about the past, and I'm sure we are all interested in the future, and these are some of the programs which we will be putting in place in the future, at least for 2020. Of course, we have other programs planned for 2021, but there will be a course in Malaysia on people agriculture course. There will also be another one on impact assessment in Japan. And we also have the Philippines training course. I think 2 weeks ago, the delegation from Philippines were at ICROM, and we were discussing this training course. Of course, as I said, we have Japan with HEPA courses, China with other courses. So the region is very, very active in terms of ICROM courses. I thought before I end my presentation, I just want to emphasize one element which I think we need to take advantage of as a region, and that is the ICROM library and the ICROM archive, because it contains a lot of information, particularly about Sri Lanka. Somebody was mentioning the expert who came here for the paintings. Some of the reports are with ICROM in the archive, and we hope that these could be digitized and be made available so that you don't have to come to Rome to be able to access information on Sri Lanka. You need to be able to do that through your computer and get that information. I think we'll get there. We've been talking to various countries and institutions, Acadia, Qatar, to see how we can digitize the library and the archive. But I also want to appeal. I see quite a lot of ICROM alumni in this room, that you could also contribute by sending some of the information to ICROM so that it could be archived and be available to other researchers, to other people, so that they can also benefit from what we have done in the region, and everyone else can share that information. Again, I just leave you with the number of organizations we have partnered with in the region, and we continue to partner. And I want to say that Sri Lanka is a very active member of ICROM, and we want to continue with that. You have a very rich heritage, which you must share with other member states, and this would be important. I thank you for listening, and if there are questions, we'll take them from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weber, for giving us the story of ICROM, the role it has played and the role it intends to play in our future. Now we've come to a very momentous occasion, the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between ICROM and WITRAP. For this purpose, I invite Professor Zhao Zhang and Dr. Weber Ndoro to do the honors. There is fine. Very momentous occasion indeed, a very historic occasion, and with that marks the end of the morning session. Tea and refreshments will be served outside. Thank you for your participation. A very good morning to you.